Hi, welcome to the gathering service today here at Sierra View Medical Center's chapel. I'm Colleen Wilson and I am the HR manager, and I also have the privilege of overseeing the chaplaincy team as well. Today our gathering is a very special service during Spiritual Care Week, devoted to the chaplaincy team who serves every day here at our hospital. And I wanted to personally take a moment just to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you do. Each and every one of you have a unique and a special ministry. And I know that you have a heart to serve our patients and their families and our staff. And I really do believe that that sets us apart from other hospitals who may not have the ability or desire to even offer such a service as chaplaincy support. I have long believed that the spiritual aspect of healing and what people need from us when they come in sick and unhealthy is that support that they need for their spiritual and emotional healing as well. And so it really is an honor to be able to be part of that. And I thought today that during Spiritual Care Week, in honor and recognition of all the great work that you do, that we just kind of get to know you and get a little bit more acquainted with who you are and how you feel about your role. So I really appreciate the time that you're going to spend today. I have a few questions that I'm going to want you guys to ask so that our staff and others can really just get to know, the wonderful people that you are and how you manage within your role as chaplaincy support. So I'd like to start by, just acknowledging that, I know personally, having worked with you over the past few years, that you are each very passionate about what you do. I mean, you have open hearts to serve. Tell us in your own words what it really means to you to be able to offer your ministerial support and gifts to the patients, families, visitors, and our staff here at Sierra View.
For me, I think it has to do with the fact that oftentimes people in the hospital, when they come into the hospital as patients, it's awkward for them because they're in a position that they're not familiar with. And it's really important to me to have someone who can come in and make them feel like they are acknowledged, they're cared for, they're loved, and remind them that God loves them. Remind them that God is in the room with them. And remind them that they aren't alone. Even though sometimes they might feel alone, they aren't alone. But there are people who are praying, there are people who are going through it with them spiritually and emotionally.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim.
For me, it's kind of an extension of my pastoral ministry, and it's been a blessing for me over the last couple of years now. It's given me the opportunity to be with people that maybe I couldn't have been with before. I think it's all about life. We have the beginning of life here. We have sickness that are the perils of life, and then we have the end of life. And I think in every one of those phases, people need to know that God's present, whether they're religious or not. They're still spiritual, and there's a part of that brings fear and awe and reverence. And so it's just a joy for me just to be present with people and try to help them through some of the most difficult times, challenging, scary.
So true.
But it's been a blessing.
Thank you, Pastor Mike.
My point of view is like when you face to face darkness. In the moment, you don't feel hopeless. You feel like you don't understand nothing at all. That's why we're here, to bring light.
Yes.
To bring hope to the person. When somebody's just living, going home with God, we're there just to be comfortable, just to feel peace and reaction like they did the right thing in the moment for family members. For patients, sometimes we sit down we then hold in the hands. But with the COVID, we had just to do FaceTime. And we just stand with them and listen. Because we don't hear, we just listen to them and read between lines. In that way we can understand and let God know they are good news.
So true. You know, everything that each of you have shared, I can also share with you that so many times it's just your presence that makes all of the difference. And I believe that what you bring is, you know, God's presence. We know that this is a very scary and difficult time for our patients and families. But when you walk into the room, there is something that God does that is beyond, you know, what anybody can do without his presence being there. So having said that, I just want to reiterate to you that you are truly making a difference in the lives in very long-term significant ways. And it really, really is a blessing to have you here. You know, one of the scriptures I know that we've talked about before during the last couple of years as we've all faced a very difficult time in healthcare with the pandemic is do not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season you shall reap if you do not give up. And I feel like that's something that has kind of kept us all going at times. I know that we have shared that amongst each other. I'm sure that you have shared that with others in your ministries as well. And it brings me to the next question that, you know, anybody who has served in healthcare for any period of time understands the toll that it can take. Because we're naturally caregivers and we give and we give and we want to support, but there is a thing called burnout and compassion fatigue. So what do each of you do within your own self-care to ensure that you don't experience that so you can continue to bless and be a blessing to others?
One thing I do is especially after a really rough day, you know, when I've seen just too much, one of them is just going and talking with my wife. And she's a good listener. And she just listens. But having someone you can share with. I know when I was an EMT and we'd have a particularly bad run, we would always afterwards go out, have coffee, donuts, and talk. And we would spend an hour going through the whole thing, but coming out with a sense of we've done what we did, and it was good.
Yeah.
And that, and getting myself immersed in something that I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just fun. You gotta have fun.
Yeah.
You gotta remember to have fun sometimes, but you gotta have something you really enjoy. For me, it's a good puzzle, whether it's a word puzzle or a jigsaw puzzle or any puzzle, and watching baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Right now is perfect time.
Good. Thank you for sharing that, Jim.
I believe, myself, I like to walk, read, watch a good movie, but sometimes when you feel overwhelmed, I call my spiritual guy, is supposed to be ordained, and just express my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Because like a therapist needs another therapist,
Yes.
we have somebody our side, professional, to can help us to just let it go, whatever we have inside.
Yes. It's such a good point.
Yeah.
We all need somebody to help us, you know, refresh.
Yeah, for us, like Pastor Jim, Pastor Mike, we have to have somebody ordained in that way. This we can express freely, you understand. But if we see that that stress short, we just what like myself, I read, I watch a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, three things come to mind. The first is purpose. Why am I here? And I have to constantly remind myself of that when I get tired and fatigued, brokenhearted, weary. Just keep reminding myself, what's the purpose? I mean, there's a greater purpose. And the second thing would be people. I go home to special people. That's what keeps me going. spending time with my wife, like Jim mentioned, my grandkids, especially my daughters, and if I have to, my son-in-laws. But just people, just
Yeah.
finding some people that I can trust, that I can just enjoy. And that kind of related to purpose too, because it really is all about people. Relationships are far more important than the struggles that we face.
Yes.
And I think finally, I would list passions, and probably along the lines of Jim and Juan, find something you enjoy doing.
Yes.
And for me, it's a good cup of coffee, an espresso,
Mhm.
photography in the hills, on the coast, just something that you're passionate about and that you enjoy, that has the ability to just capture your attention so much you just forget everything else.
Yes.
And the photography thing for me, I can look through a lens and that's all I see is what's in there, no matter what's going on around me. And I think that's a good picture for what we have to do in life sometimes, is focus on something smaller than the big picture every once in a while.
That's so true. That's
Yeah.
so true. I just really want to say thank you once again. I know that in conversations, that we're privileged to have in our day-to-day busy lives, that I think that we all understand and appreciate that we are all in healthcare called to a higher calling. And that truly what happens within healthcare is really God's work. And we're all part of that process in the healing process as we extend God's love and offer some peace and comfort to those who are suffering and who are hurting. And so it is just an honor and privilege to have each of you here serving with us. And I also, in addition to our chaplaincy staff and what you all do in ministering one-on-one, you offer written words of encouragement. You offer our weekly gathering service in our chapel here, and we have staff who come. And the feedback that we receive from that is just such a comfort, and it's an encouragement to help our staff keep going through these difficult times. And so I just can't reiterate enough the significance and importance that you play in healthcare. I really do think it's part of the entire healing process, and it would really be a different experience if we didn't have you serving here with us. So I just wanted to take a moment today to honor you, to thank you, and to continue to ask God to bless you in your ministries here at Sierra View. So you're appreciated very, very much.
Thank you.